Why was it Boston that this was the place that you wanted to come to?
Well, first of all, just an iconic, historic organization, no?
That's a good start.
And this gave me the best opportunity to win, and I want to win. And
the Celtics' first game proved why they're the favorites to win the 2024 NBA Finals. Their trade for Kristaps Porzingis changes everything. On day one, Porzingis might have been their most impressive player, dropping 30 points and hitting 5 of his 9 3-point attempts, including a back-breaking, tie-breaking 3 with a minute and a half left against the team that gave up on him. He scored the Celtics' last 9 points to seal the game before the Knicks started their last-ditch fouling. When the midsummer trade was first announced, everyone was focused on the negatives of Porzingis' game and his career, which we'll get to in a second. But his ceiling is so high. The positives to having an offensive threat like Kristaps far outweigh the negatives, and he showed that this preseason. Porzingis' quick release makes him one of the deadliest spot-up shooters in the game. It may have just been the preseason, and then the first game of the year, but he proved why Boston parted with longtime Celtic Marcus Smart for Porzingis. Porzingis averaged 15.5 a game in his 4 preseason games, hitting exactly half of his attempted threes. Porzingis is listed at 7'3", making him a matchup nightmare. You need a big man to cover him, but that's exactly what the Celtics want. No smaller defender can properly disrupt his shot, he's just too tall. But when the defending center is matched up against him, who's guarding the paint? Slashing wings like Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown need a guy like Porzingis, a big man who can stretch the floor. It's a free shot to the basket to rock the rim for those two guys. Of course, the lane can be open all day, but that means nothing if Porzingis weren't a skilled passer. It's not like he's Nikola Jokic or anything, but he's smart and talented enough to swing the ball to the cutting Brown. Having a guy who is that tall, who can shoot that well, completely changes the geometry of the court. It completely changes the tone of the game. Anyone you put on him is a matchup issue, something an MVP candidate like Tatum can exploit. And Porzingis is still an elite shot blocker, whose sheer length is impossible to avoid. And don't forget about those patented slams that made him famous in the first place. Is Porzingis officially back? The Celtics might have picked up Porzingis at the perfect time in his career, right after an incredible bounce-back season in Washington last year. Porzingis might have had his best season ever last year, at 27 years old, the age where a lot of players take an important leap. Last year's scoring numbers across the board are a little skewed, very inflated, but still, his numbers are staggering. His 23.2 points per game was a career high. He was good for 8.4 boards and a block and a half per game, showing he's still a big man at heart. He averaged 2.7 assists per game, by far the highest of his career. Most importantly, he was the most efficient he's ever been. While his 2.1 threes per game weren't the highest of his career, he was making them at a much higher clip, nearly 39% from deep, which was his highest since 2018 and well above his career averages. But he also figured out how to play effectively inside the three-point line, nearly shooting 50% from the floor. For a guy who struggled to finish at the rim, that is a huge step. In comparison, back in that 2018 season, he only shot 44%. The Wizards only won 35 games last year, but for Porzingis, it was a redefining season. Let's look back at his career arc. Porzingis burst onto the scene as a rookie, justifying him being drafted 4th overall, a selection that New York fans did not love.
The New York Knicks select Kristaps Porzingis from Liepāja, Latvia. He last played for Sevilla in Spain.
The big Latvian's first foray into fame came because of his incredible putbacks. In just 6 games, the NBA's YouTube page already had a compilation. By 2018, he was an all-star, the next great star the Knicks had been hoping for. And then it all went downhill. He tore his ACL before he even played in that all-star game in a 14-point loss to the Bucks in early February. Porzingis is a unicorn, the kind of player most franchises only dream about. 7'3" with skills, handles, and a sick, quick jumper? That might be the ideal makeup for a big man in the three-point era, but that comes with a price. Tall guys are more prone to injuries. Their knees just take far more punishment. When tall guys run around screens, make quick cuts, and jump the way he does, you're only asking for trouble, especially when you're that skinny. The Knicks saw his injury and figured he'd be an injury-prone liability for the rest of his career. In October of 2018, while Porzingis was nursing his ACL, the Knicks announced they wouldn't extend his rookie contract. That January, they traded him to Dallas for DeAndre Jordan, Wes Matthews, Dennis Smith Jr., and a couple of picks. Dallas was excited to have Porzingis. They were in the final year of the OG unicorn, Dirk Nowitzki, who had already announced his retirement coming at the end of the year. But Porzingis did not last long in Dallas. He never really fit with Luka, which would seem like a match made in heaven. He missed a lot of games, only playing half of the 2021 season. Most importantly, he flamed out in the playoffs, to the point where fans were calling him Pandemic Pete. If you have a generational superstar like Luka on your team, you can't have your number 2 guy choking in the first round of the playoffs. Last season in Washington was exactly what Porzingis needed. The New York City lights are just always so bright. After shocking everyone as a young pro, expectations were just too high for him in Dallas. You can't expect Porzingis to be the best guy on your team. His last year in New York, the year after Carmelo left, proved that. The team only won 29 games. In fact, you can't even really expect him to be the second best player on a team, at least one contending for a title. Porzingis has a nice jumper and is a good rim protector, but he's still limited offensively. If he's driving to the basket past one guy, he's fine, but you can't expect him to weave through traffic, and he struggles to create his own looks. If he's your second option, forcing him to take 16 shots a game, you might be in trouble. The Mavericks proved that when they went on a miraculous midseason turnaround after his departure, ending in a trip to the Western Finals. But last season, there were no expectations. He was on a perennially bad team that maybe could have fought for position in the play-in game. So all he needed to worry about was putting up stats, staying healthy, and having a good time. Now that he's reset after a few long years, now that his stock is as high as it's ever been, was this the perfect time to join a contending team? The Celtics have one of the top 1-2 offensive punches in the league in Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jrue Holiday and Derek White will be taking care of ball handling duties. Porzingis, all he needs to worry about is coming around screens, catching the ball, and making 40% of his threes. He might be the ideal third option in today's game. In fact, he might be market-correcting Al Horford, the 37-year-old sharpshooting center. Horford hasn't really been an offensive inside threat since the late 2010s. For the last few years, he's just handled low-post defensive duties and hit some threes. Second in the league last year in three-point percentage. But you cannot count on Horford down the stretch. He just has too much mileage. After hitting 45% of his threes in last year's regular season, he dropped to below 30% in the playoffs. Porzingis can do two things: replace the spot-up threat that the Celtics are beginning to lose in the aging Horford, and allow Horford to rest in the regular season when it's time for the playoffs. That being said, Porzingis has injury concerns of his own. Last year was the closest thing he's had to a full season since 2017, and he only played 65 games. Coming back from an ACL injury is tough at that size, and it seems like he always has some sort of ailment. As big as a torn lateral meniscus in 2020, or as small as petty back tightness. So why will it be different in Boston? Simple. They don't need him in the regular season at all. The C's won 57 games last year without Porzingis. They upgraded from Marcus Smart to Jrue Holiday, and there's no reason to believe Tatum and Brown won't keep progressing every year. They lost Grant Williams and Time Lord, but even so, they're at least a 50-win team, whether Porzingis plays or not. Where they really need him is the playoffs. For the second time in 4 years, the Celtics got bounced by the underdog Heat in the conference finals. Outside of Brown and Tatum, they had no one who could create their own shot. When matched up against a coaching mastermind like Eric Spoelstra, it becomes hard to score when you only have two options. And if just one of those stars flames out, like Jaylen did in the Heat series, you have no hope. Porzingis gives the Celtics one thing: more options. They're not losing anything defensively. While he's not as aggressive or strong-bodied as Robert Williams is on that end, he's a born shot blocker. But they just have one more guy who can make a bucket, and lucky for him, it's not all on his shoulders anymore. Do you think the Porzingis trade will work out for the Celtics? Will this be the Unicorns' best season yet? Should they be favored in the East? Let us know in the comments, then watch how the Jrue Holiday trade was perfect for the Celtics. Listen to The Wrong Opinion, useless NBA trivia, and garbage rankings for more NBA content.